Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I will be reviewing the Atlanta Falcons and their 2021 season. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 400 subscribers by Super Bowl weekend. So if you haven't already, Falcons friends, subscribe to this channel, help us out, like this video, comment on this video, let us know your thoughts on what the Falcons did well this season and some things that they should do in the off season. And Ryan, let's get into it. This is going to be a fun one. Follow the Falcons all day, every day. And a lot of, like, all things considered, I will say a lot of positives, I think, to take from this season. I'll start with you because I know I'm probably about to talk here for a really long time. So I want to give you some airtime.
I'll be short. I'm going to start out with the goods and just kind of talk about what I think the Falcons have going well for them. Start out, AJ Terrell. Most underestimated corner in the league.
Yeah.
Dude gave up 29 receptions for 200
yards
or something.
Flat.
Oh, 200 yards flat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. On 66 targets, so that's a little over a third? That's insane. Like a little, and he's also the only corner out like on the Falcons that I think is any good.
Fabian Moreau had an okay season, all things considered. But he is the guy. He is the guy.
Yeah, and in most situations he was in one-on-one coverage. And the fact he's not a Pro Bowler, which I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on in a second, is just a little pitiful in my opinion. And then I think Grady, Jarrett, and Cordarelle Patterson are two other pieces that I think really shine for you guys that kind of got you even to the 8th pick. I think if without those two guys, I think that this team is picking top 3, and is actually probably one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
And I think Cordarelle Patterson is the guy that they should bring back. He is a free agent. But other than that, I think those are the goods. I'll let you elaborate a little bit more kind of on what the Falcons did good and then go into what they did bad.
Yeah, so I will start with Cordarelle Patterson. Obviously, he was a surprise of the season. I do think that they should bring him back. Don't overpay him because we are going to be short on cap space. I think it's about estimated we might have $20 million, I think, give or take. But that includes having to pay. Well, sorry, that doesn't include having to pay all of our upcoming draft picks here. But I think adding Cordarelle Patterson and potentially finding another gadget guy that could grow into that Cordarelle Patterson role, something that we see with Deebo Samuel now as well. Because Arthur Smith, I think, really likes having that versatile guy that he can move all around the field and get him a lot of touches. Kyle Pitts is probably the one that first shouts out to me. First overall pick. When I first heard that, I didn't know how that was going to shake out. But then when you look at the prospect at the time of him playing with Calvin Ridley and then just Arthur Smith and how successful he's been with tight ends, obviously that panned out. I'm hoping that he continues to keep growing and he can turn into this Travis Kelce-like or this Darren Waller-like tight end because that's going to be huge for the Falcons because he is a absolute mismatch. Another guy to shout out, Afoye Oluokun on the defensive side of the ball. He had a great year. Looking to see him come back because, especially with cap space, it's looking like a couple of linebackers might get cut, as I'll talk about here in a second, to free up some space, and he's going to become the guy. Also, Mikael Walker. He was another guy. They drafted him last in 2 drafts ago. And he did. He really stepped up as well, and he's going to be the. He's also going to fill up into that role. Let's see what else. I think just all in all, I think the one last thing to say is nice to see us actually finish some games. We have these fourth quarter leads. There were a couple of times where they actually weren't able to just run out the clock and kneel down. Not as many times as I'd like. But that being said, nice to kind of drift that, build some confidence up. The bad going into it, that being said, we weren't able to do that consistently enough against the good teams. And by that I mean like just run the ball. Our offensive line gave up a lot of sacks. Matt Ryan was one of the more hit quarterbacks in the league again. Jalen Mayfield, our left guard, he was a rookie, 3rd-round pick. trial by fire. I get it, but definitely going to want to address that in the offseason and definitely just get some more guys in there, have some more competition, so that you can protect Matt Ryan and also the future quarterback as well. We were last in sacks on the year, 18. That is, Ryan, I'm not great at math, but I think that's just over one a game. And we provided no pass rush. Even for the improvement, I would say our defense still improved, which shows you how bad it was. I think a lot of that was due to A.J. Terrell and then the improving of the or with Foya Luakon performing well, and same with Mikael Walker and Deion Jones. Not like he played poorly, but really outside Grady, Jarrett, we don't really have anyone else that can come in and just be an absolute stalwart on the defensive front. And Grady Jarrett's not even going to be your main sack guy. He's going to be more your run stopping guy because he takes up a lot of space up front. Definitely going to need to address that. And luckily, there's a lot of guys early on that potentially the pieces fall the right way. Maybe we can get an Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, George Karlaftis might be there as well. David Ojabo, also potential flyer. But it's just going to depend on what I would say. It's just going to depend on what Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith think is just going to be the best player available to help their team out. I would say, if Kyle Hamilton's sitting there, then there's David Ojabo. It's similar to what the predicament was with the Falcons last year. Do you want to take the fourth best player at that position? Because there would be three players already taken at that spot, or get the best player available at this position, which would be Kyle Hamilton at the safety position, a spot that needs to be addressed, in my opinion as well. I thought Richie Grant, who we drafted last year, would be great, or performed well, all things considered. But Kyle Hamilton coming in, now you get two solid safeties back there.
You also play with two safeties on the field at one time. So, both those guys can get playing time at the same time.
Yeah, and both those guys could be interchangeable as well. But just the bad, it just definitely evolved around the offensive line, or just the trenches. Just in general, just the trenches for me. If you can't win in the trenches, then you can't win football games. And when you look at the Falcons when they made that Super Bowl run, they were the only team up until the Super Bowl, actually, because Andy Levitre got hurt in the Super Bowl. But the only team that had the same 5 offensive linemen every single game, and you saw it from the beginning of the season to the end, where they were able to just they were in such unison. They were able to protect Matt Ryan. That's when he had his MVP season. Julio Jones is going off that year, and if you don't have that, then everything else is going to fall down and look bad. I know this is going to be a hot take, but I don't think that they should get rid of Matt Ryan. Not because I think Matt Ryan is going to take us to the promised land. It's just because even if we cut him, we still owe him. We're still down $22 million. Then also, who are we going to get that's going to perform better than Matt Ryan? He had a just shy of a 4,000-yard season, and that was with an abysmal offensive line. No Calvin Ridley. Russell Gage was hurt for a part of the year. Then when he came back, he was the number one guy. He had a great year. And that was another guy that was good, I would say. And he's a free agent, and I think that they should re-sign him. But with essentially just Kyle Pitts and Cordarelle Patterson to throw to, all in all, Matt Ryan, I would say, had a solid year. Matt Ryan did what Matt Ryan can do. And so I don't think they should take a quarterback, or if they do, it should be in the third round, as we talked about. Take a Desmond Ridder, maybe if he falls that far, maybe Mikael Walker if he falls that far, and work from there. But I think there's too many other things to address for this Falcons team that you just can't pass up with these early picks. I see all these picks of them taking who's a Pittsburgh guy, Kenny Pickett, or Sam Howell, and it's just why would they do that? Why would they shoot themselves in the foot and not bulk up the offensive line or bulk up the defensive line or the secondary with a player who can come in on day one and impact? If you draft this guy, he's probably not going to start unless if you force your hand and get rid of Matt Ryan. So,
but even then, kind of like what you said, that would be stupid based off of what his cap hit would still be. If they got rid of him. I think it would be smart for them to maybe get a developmental guy in the later rounds and just kind of see maybe if they can strike gold somewhere later. But for me, like kind of moving on into what I think they should do in the offseason, I really think they need to beef up the trenches. I think that defensive line has a lot of issues. They were the 27th ranked run defense and the 18th pass defense. And I just really think that this defensive side of the ball can be improved. And with the division being up in the air next season, I think if they can be good on the defensive side of the ball, I think they put themselves in a really good position to win the division and make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
And so they don't have a ton of cap space. I think a lot of their cap is going to go to re-signing some of the good players that they have, like Cordarelle Patterson, like Russell Gage, and those players. But there are two players that I really have in mind that I really like for the Falcons at this 8th pick. And I really like Marvin Leal, the defensive end, defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. I think he's a really big, fast, athletic guy. He's a freak. He's 290. He's probably going to run in the 4.6s.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of pass rushing moves, and I think he's a scheme fit because the Falcons like to run kind of Grady Jarrett as like a run stuffer and then run a few more athletic guys. And I think he's just a really good fit, and I cannot imagine what it's like for Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun to be as fast as they are running behind a defensive lineman that can be as athletic as him. And then they still have people will still have to run the ball away from the middle because you guys have Grady Jarrett in the middle. And so I think that's really a good scheme fit for me. I think Marvin Leal would be a good fit. The other guy would be Andrew Booth Jr., an extremely athletic corner out of Clemson. They hit on AJ Terrell in the middle of the first round a few years ago, and I think getting him a guy that can come in from day one and athletically be on par with a lot of the other players in the NFL would be a huge uplift to that secondary. And a lot of people have him as the number 1 or number 2 corner in this draft just based off of his athletic profile. And when you watch him on tape, I mean, he's so fluid, he's so athletic, and he just really brings a good presence to a secondary. And I think him and AJ Terrell would just be a phenomenal duo.
Well, and that's what it goes back to what I was saying, where it's like if it was last year's draft and you're in this spot, then take Justin Fields or whatever like that, because you can't pass up on talent like this. But then everyone's saying you need to take a quarterback. Matt Ryan's washed up. And maybe you're right about the Matt Ryan part. But that being said, though, you can go and get someone that can contribute day one and potentially make this team significantly better, especially given the division circumstances that we might be going into next year with a Saints team that was only good because of Sean Payton and a Tampa Bay team that might be without Tom Brady, and then also might lose a lot of other people who would want to just go and get paid now that they got their Super Bowl ring. And it's not going to be the same Tampa Bay team as what they've been playing the past 2 years.
No.
You have a legitimate shot at potentially winning the division and hosting a playoff game. And I know that's asking a lot, but it's just given the circumstances because the Panthers suck. The Saints generally do suck, and they're in cap hell. And without Sean Payton, I don't know what they're going to do. So, I agree with you. I think Andrew Booth, I think they are, and especially with Terry Fontenot and what he preaches, they are going to go through their whole system and their routine, and they're going to pick just the best player that's going to be available at that 8th spot. And I think it's going to be a great pick. Whatever it is, whether it's Andrew Booth, whether it is Marvin Leal, whether it's Kenyon Martin, the guard from I think also from Texas A&M as well, or Arkansas.
You mean Kenyon Green?
Kenyon Green. Yes, that's it. I don't think they can go wrong really with any of those picks. The only pick that I think would be wrong with that 8th overall pick would be a quarterback. That's the only wrong.
Even if they wait and take a guy. Even if they wait and take a guy like Carson Strong at the top of the 2nd round, he's a bigger pocket passer out of Nevada. I think that would be smarter than trying to force something at the 8th pick. And even then, I still think that this quarterback class is iffy at best. And if I'm the Falcons, I might roll with a future Hall of Famer over any of these rookies, just because you don't know if these guys can come in and compete. And I think it's going to be much easier to evaluate other positions and have those guys come in and compete. So,
well, and I think that's a great point.
For me, I think the Falcons need to beef up the trenches.
Well, I think that's a great point, too. You can go get future Hall of Famers like Nick Foles, who has won a Super Bowl, who has beaten other Super Bowl caliber, or future Hall of Famers in Super Bowls. I think that would be Nick Foles. Maybe Eli Manning will come out of retirement. He also beat some other future Hall of Famers in some Super Bowls, get some experience in there. I'm trying to think who else beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Not too many people.
Actually, I think that's about it.
I think that is it,
yeah.
Not Matt Ryan, though. Not Matt Ryan, obviously.
yeah. But no, so I think that... I think the Falcons are in a good position. I think they have a lot of young talent that is good. I think they just need to continue to build on it. I think Arthur Smith is that guy. Another dark horse pick, especially for them later, is I think they might go out and get a guy like a top running back. See if they can get themselves similar to what Najee Harris was for Pittsburgh. I know that's not necessarily what they do. They just don't have a lot of talent in that running back room. Mike Davis was good, but nothing really.
There's a lot of
elite
drafts. I think of them taking the Michigan running back Haskins in the 4th or 5th round. I think that would be a great option. Yeah. And I know this video is running a little long, so I say let's just keep talking about it. Another big thing we never even talked about was where Calvin Ridley's going to end up. I think, just considering his age and still he's on his rookie contract for another year. I think they could potentially get a first-round pick for him. And so I'm looking at teams like the Eagles, who have 3 first-round picks this year, if they would want to take that, have Calvin Ridley and Devontae Smith on the field, and then you have their Dallas Goedert, Dallas Goedert, who is coming on as one of the better tight ends in the league. Or even then, you still have Miami, who they have plenty of draft capital as well, and could trade up a first or maybe an early second-round pick. So I think with Calvin Ridley, I'd be curious to see if that trade happens, or not. Kind of if it's more of a when at this point. And then maybe they could use that draft pick and go get the young running back that you're talking about there, or a young receiver that could fit that role.
Yeah. So I think they're in a good position. I think they have good young talent with some veteran leadership. But I think we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I mean, I think they're in add good player mode. I don't think that they're necessarily going to be targeting one specific position. I think they have a few places that they can definitely improve upon. So other than that, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Tracy Take. This one was a little bit longer, so we thank you guys for sticking with us to the end. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I are trying to hit 400 subscribers by Super Bowl Sunday. So if you can help us reach that goal, we would very much appreciate it. But other than that, I think we will see you guys next time.